Hi, my name is Jeannie and this is my channel. So this channel is a feed to all of the things that I'm interested in, which is writing, movies, spirituality, and goal setting, and also my books as well. But the topic for today is Nichiren Buddhism. I haven't been making a lot of videos about Nichiren Buddhism, but I have noticed that a lot of people seem to tune into it, that they find it interesting. So yesterday I spoke with one of my friends. We were students of holistic healing, energy healing modality, and he asked me, what does Nam Myoho Renge Kyo mean, and what does my Buddhist practice mean? So basically, Nichiren Buddhism, I practice Nichiren Buddhism, which is we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over and over and over again. And I'll tell you why we do this. So Nichiren Buddhism started in the 13th century with a Buddhist monk named Nichiren. So that was not his original name. That was sort of his pseudonym, but he studied Buddhism since he was 7 years old and up to 21 years old. So he studied it extensively. He grew up with it, and he studied the teachings of Sakyamuni Buddha, the original Buddha in India or Nepal region. And he realized that the Buddhism of Sakyamuni Buddha was very hard to understand for ordinary people. And so he decided, he realized through his study, and he studied the teachings of the Chinese Buddhist Tian Tai. So basically they were studying Buddhism from the India, Nepal region, and then it went to China. From China, it spread to Japan. So there was a Chinese Buddhist that also studying Sakyamuni Buddha's teachings, and he realized the Lotus Sutra is the highest teaching of Sakyamuni Buddha. And then, but it was kind of hard to put it in practice, knowing about the highest teaching of a teacher. You have to make it more attainable for ordinary people. So Nichiren, the Buddhist monk in Japan, he realized that, okay, so the Lotus Sutra is the highest teaching, but how can we teach this to ordinary people? So he realized that by chanting the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is essentially the title of the Lotus Sutra, the highest teaching of Sakyamuni Buddha, he realized that when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, or the title of the Lotus Sutra, you already summon the highest teaching, which is in essence that everybody is capable of Buddhahood and everybody has the potential of being a Buddha. So regardless of religion, regardless of race, regardless of your gender identity, every human being has the capacity to become enlightened in their current form. And the reason why, Nichiren did this was he wanted the teachings, the Buddhist teachings, to be more accessible to ordinary people like you and me, but at the same time, not to go out pray somewhere in the mountains or just hide away from the world, but to become enlightened with our present day problems and our present day realities, present day obstacles, and our present day failings as a human being, or if you can call that failings, or our weaknesses. So he realized that when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it is essentially when you chant the title of the highest teaching, the Lotus Sutra, you are in essence summoning up the highest teaching as well. It's like when you say United States of America. When I say United States of America, it already encompasses all the 50 states, you know, Alaska, Hawaii, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Colorado, all the 50 states. At the same time, it also, when you say United States of America, it includes the president, the people, the cities in America. So that title or that phrase, United States of America, it already represents somehow like the USA, the entire USA, which includes the plants, the trees, the animals, the human beings in it, the government, everything encapsulated in that phrase, United States of America. So similarly, when you say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is the title of the highest teaching, Lotus Sutra, it's already like you are already sort of summoning like that highest teaching that we are all capable of achieving enlightenment in our current form in our life, and within this lifetime as well. We can be happy in this lifetime, we can be enlightened in this lifetime. So I know that's very technical, but in practice, the way I see it is the Nichiren Buddhists believe that there's like 10 life conditions or life states: hell, hunger, anger, animality, humanity, heaven or tranquility, and there's learning, realization, bodhisattva, and what do you call that? Buddhahood. Yeah, I remember. Anyway, we at any moment can be in any like of the 10 life conditions or the 9 life conditions. We can at any moment be in a state of hell, hunger, anger. So let's say hell is maybe depression. Hell is like living in like a war-torn country, or hell could be a mental state as well, that you feel that your life is hell. And hunger could be like hunger for fame. Actual hunger as well could be hunger for attention, or you know, you're maybe hungry for love, or hungry for something outside of yourself. And then there's anger. Of course, we are familiar with anger. There's a lot of anger in this reality, you know, people just letting the rage engulf their lives, you know, like being destructive, wars, you know, that's like a state of life of anger. And then there's animality, of course, the lesser of our, you know, our animal instincts, really like man against man, you know, doing things that are animalistic in nature. And then there's humanity, which is like a state of like you're just humanity or tranquility, where you're in the state of like, yeah, I'm at peace right now. And then there's the heaven is like a state of life when you have actually achieved, like, let's say you graduated from maybe med school, you graduated from high school, or you achieved your dream of like getting a mansion or your new car. But those 6 other life states, they are temporary, and they are based on something, like they can be triggered by external factors, you know, like you know, when you're in love, that's like heaven as well, but when the other person is gone, so that you're in a state of despair. And the higher 4 worlds are learning, realization, bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is like caring for other people, and there's Buddhahood as well. Buddhahood basically means you are in a high state of life, you are happy no matter what. Your happiness is not contingent upon like certain external factors. It's just happiness within, because you understand how life works. And then there's you have wisdom and compassion, and you are undefeated in the face of problems. And so the higher four worlds are, of course, it takes more effort on your part, and they're more internal. Like, learning, you can't like be forced to be in a state of learning, and then there's realization. The wisdom just comes out. You realize like, oh, this is what I did wrong, or this is like what it means, like this is the pattern of my life. And then bodhisattva can be selfless, helping other people, being compassionate. But the thing is, there could also be negativity in this, like other states. If you're just too focused on learning, you forget about everything else. And realization too, you may become arrogant. And then bodhisattva as well is you may be too selfless to the point that you forget about yourself as well. But when you're in a state of Buddhahood, you turn all the negative tendencies, you turn it into a positive. And most especially on the lower life states, and so as I was saying, Buddhahood is when all the negative states of life, including like the higher worlds as well, of learning, realization, bodhisattva, they turn into its most positive. Like you switch like the positive aspects of those negative tendencies. Let's say anger can be turned into maybe anger for the oppressed and fighting against the oppressed. It can be a force for good. And even like hell, like if you're in a state of hell, you were able to you were living in a state of hell for years and years, and then you start chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you're able to turn it into a positive. Maybe you're more compassionate and you're more aware, like, oh yeah, that's how the hellish life condition works, and I've been there, done that, and I can help other people, to achieve that higher states of life. And or you might just have more compassion for people that are undergoing like hellish states. And hunger as well, like you're hungry for maybe attention. You can turn this into a positivity. Maybe channel your hunger and that need for maybe attention into something positive. So each life condition has all of the life conditions, the 8 life conditions have definitely negative components or aspects. But when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you turn the negative into something positive. And I'm just going to base it on my experience, because this teaching is, I can talk about the principles of Nichiren Buddhism the whole day, and then you will never know unless you experience it for yourself. For me, I've been chanting 15 years. And when I started chanting, I was very skeptical. And even up to today, I have like that skeptic, nature still, like, oh, is this really the practice, or is this something else, And it's always good to start with a practice as a skeptic, and like, yeah, I'm gonna try it out, like be open-minded, but at the same time learn to also like gauge, like, is this really a coincidence, or do I really actually see changes in my life? And so when I started chanting 15 years ago, I was in a hellish life condition. I was like depressed, clinically depressed. I didn't know what to do with my life. And so my cousin introduced me to chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, but I was one of those people, like, I was very curious, and I think that's a good quality to have when you are a curious human being. and you like, okay, I'm just gonna try it out. So I did. I tried it out, and I was just like, they said, oh, chant for something, and then it was like, oh, it came true after a week. And then they said, chant for something else. And then it came true after like a month. And then, but they did tell me that although this chanting is to help solve your problems, it essentially is for you to be happy no matter what. Meaning to be happy even if you have problems, and to achieve that like high life condition, or that state of life that even if other people looking outside think that it's so negative, but because deep inside you're in a higher life state, you are happier or happy no matter what goes on around you. And so at first I was thinking, oh, this is a coincidence, like, yeah, like I'm just gonna continue to chant because I'm curious, and before you know it, I actually experienced like inner change, like from someone negative. Like it would literally take me months, maybe even years. I was just so negative, like I was a pessimist, like really low energy at one point. And then when I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it was just like my energy, like I just literally, it's like slowly, I don't know if you have a dimmer, but it's not like a flick of a switch, it was like a dimmer, like, oh, okay, it was dark, that it's, became like better and better, and like lighter and lighter and lighter. And then someone actually told me, because I was a Debbie Downer before, I was like, I was like, oh, so depressed. But then someone told me like a few years ago, I was like maybe 10 years in the practice, and she said, you know what? You are like, when you come into a room, you are like a light, like, in a dark room. And that to me was like the testament to how this practice works, because I was literally like, so if there was a light bulb, I was like black, and then not even dim, like really dark. Like I was so negative, pessimistic, I was anxious, I had social anxiety, I was like shy, I was introverted, and like my life was just like hopeless, and like I was like so depressed. And then when I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I just became like, oh, you know what? I'm happier. And then like a dimmer, like the light bulb, like just was brighter and brighter and brighter. And so that essentially is how the practice works. Like the way I can explain it, especially in my life, that it's just, you turn into like, your life just expands, your life force strengthens. And also what I notice is that your practice, the more you practice consistently, it's just your life and your practice are actually intertwined. They become more intertwined, like they actually like they become one and the same. Like, so you're basically essentially practicing for your life to be better. Like, and I notice like, even if I've been practicing for 15 years, I'm still human. I'm like, get lazy. I'm like, I'm not gonna chant a lot this week. And even for the day as well, like I will notice like, oh, I'm just gonna run, I'm gonna not chant. I usually I have like a maintenance chant that I chant a certain amount of minutes, but I know I should be chanting more. But anyway, even if I miss like chanting for that day, I kid you not, like and because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to save time, I gotta hurry. And I work with one-on-one. I'm a healthcare worker. I work one-on-one with people, and then thinking that, oh, I'm gonna save time, like I'm just not gonna skip the chanting, it's not really important. I kid you not, like for the whole day, everybody will just cancel, like, oh, someone will call like, oh, we're canceling this, and this. And I'm like, dude, like, or I will hit traffic, and it's just like I'm like out of rhythm, or it's like the weather's really gonna be bad, you know? And so I realized, like, you know what, that maybe a few extra minutes that I spend chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to elevate my life, you know, and my life force, maybe that is enough for me to save time. And I kid you not, when I at least do like the morning prayer, everything just it's like smooth, like, you know, even if I'm late, like for some reason I just like make time, like it's just time expands or whatever. It's just very mystic. And so it's like, of course everybody's experience will be different, but I asked like the other people that are chanting, and then they say similar things, like it is really related to how you practice. And isn't that wonderful that all you need to focus is just practicing correctly, which is consistently, and chanting a certain amount of minutes, whatever. Some people, they want to chant like maybe an hour or so. For me, I realized that my set point of chanting is higher than everybody else's, just because like I realized that when I don't reach that set point, everything is just maybe not working as much. Or so this year, 2023, I determined to just chant more, go back to my really consistent like practice, and just practice more, like chant more, not just for myself but for others as well. Just because I noticed like the past few years I was just resting, you know, recovering from like a long illness, essentially long COVID, but then my life was just like, yeah, I'm just coasting. But deep inside I know that when I chant more Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's just gonna, you know, go up and up and up. And I feel that 2023 is that time, like, yeah, you've rested enough, you know, and now's the time to just really go back, and even not really go back, but to have an even better practice than I've had for the past 15 years. So this is the new 15 years, you know, the start of the next 15 years of my practice, which is, it should be better than before. I should start it better than my previous 15 years. And people, you know, to people that when they are looking outside and then like, oh, that woman, like, you know, her life's a mess, she's chanting, but you know, how come she has a lot of problems? And just the way I explain it is that it's not that we will encounter problems still, because we are, like, as long as we're alive, we will encounter issues and problems, you know, maybe disagreements, and that's just always going to be part of life. But unlike the me before I chanted, like when I encountered a problem, I was like, oh no, you know, I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then like I was so pessimistic. I was just like giving up right away. And I was like, sometimes I would just focus on a problem, like, you know, this will solve itself. But then now that I've been chanting, and I've been chanting a while now, like 15 years, when I have a problem, it's kind of weird. It's like, yippee, you know, I have a problem. It's exciting, and I'm excited because I want to see what happens next, you know, after this problem. You have like, I don't know, like a different approach on life. And just because of my experiences, like I encountered a problem, I overcame it, and my life condition or my life state expanded, encountered another problem, overcame it. And so I'm like up and up and up. And then used to be before, when I got upset, it would last maybe the whole day, or maybe the whole week, maybe the whole month, or maybe for several months. That was before I chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. During the first few years of my practice, I was like that, you know, like it took me a while to be like, to get out of that funk. But when I continued to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's like, you know, like a light switch, like I'm like, and as I was saying, like I'm able to snap out of the negativity. It wasn't like before where it would take me a long time to get over the negativity, and right now it's just easier for me to overcome it. You know, I may be negative for 1 to 2 days. The maximum is actually a week right now, but before it used to be, I would just, before I started chanting and the first part of my chanting my Buddhist practice, I would stay negative and for days and days and weeks. But now that I've sort of like flipped it, I may be in a negative state of life for briefly, maybe for a day, maybe for 30 minutes, but I can easily snap out of it. Whereas before, it took me a while to snap out of it. And so, why is chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo important? So chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it is actually a responsibility, because you are responsible for being the best version of yourself, and sometimes that's not very easy to do. Definitely for me, I have noticed, like I'm just doing the, you know, the maintenance chant, you know, and I feel like I think I can do better, but yeah, I'm just being lazy and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. I do notice that, you know, my life is also reflecting that as well. And it's important to chant. If you haven't already started chanting, if you really desire like true change, and not just keep on repeating the same patterns, and if also you have a problem that you tried everything, like you tried therapy or you tried every other strategies known to mankind and you still haven't fixed it, or it still hasn't resolved itself, maybe this will help you. And or you are just in a state of, you know, a lower life state, maybe you get angry or your life is just really hell and you want out of it, you can chant definitely Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And it doesn't mean though that you won't encounter problems. That is the fallacy of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, or people chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. They think that when they start chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, life is just gonna be easy. It will get easier, but it will take time for you to develop that life state where, you know, you're just laughing at obstacles. And that actually is the best way to practice, when you can just say, oh, okay, I have a problem, okay, I'm just gonna chant, I'm gonna change this, transform this, and it's gonna lead to something better, you know. So I'm at the point in my practice, I mean, before I was like, oh no, problems, and now, because this is essentially my the next, or the second phase of the next 15 years of my practice, I think I can do much better. And actually I do have like a problem, and I was like, the past me would just say like, oh no, problem, but now it's like, oh wow, I have a problem, I'm really excited, to transform this, to change this into something better. And that is essentially what the practice is about. I can talk about how the practice works, but unless you try it and you have a curious mind, it will just you won't really get it. You know, it's like describing to you what chocolate tastes like, but you've never really tasted chocolate before. It'd be kind of hard, you know. I could say like, yeah, it's kind of sweet, woodsy, like aromatic, but like you've never tasted chocolate before. So you really have to experience it for yourself. And this practice is not for everyone, you know, because there's people that are really just happy where they are right now. It may also not be the right time for you to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I mean, maybe in the future, maybe you have a big problem that can't be solved through other means, or you're just not ready. But this definitely, if you are watching this video, maybe you are at that point in your life where you are looking for something like a higher teaching, and you just want transformation. And there's always a disclaimer, because I didn't get this disclaimer when I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I was just like, yeah, try it out. And the one who introduced me was also just starting out in the practice, which was my cousin. So there's a disclaimer. So the disclaimer is, because you're talking about total transformation of your life, when you start chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and you chant consistently and you're good at the practice, your life will not be the same again. And it's for a good thing. Initially, maybe not, like you won't be able to see that it's good, but it's eventually like you will look back and say like, yeah, it was all for the best. And also, it's not a walk in the park. It's simple. The practice is very simple. Like you just chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, but it takes a lot of dedication to just practice, because like there's days when I'm like, yeah, I don't want to chant. I'm just gonna lay in bed and roll, you know, roll in bed. And so it takes dedication, and it also takes some level of skepticism, and of course questioning, and just having a seeking mind. And I think that was the thing that kept me chanting all these years, is that I'm just very curious. I'm very skeptical. I'm very analytical, and also stubborn as well. I'm like stubborn. I'm like, I refuse to believe that, you know, out of people like are experiencing so much great benefits from this, and I'm not, you know. So you also have to be stubborn, and you also have to really be reflective. Like you have to you should be doing self-reflection, like what did I do wrong, how can I do things differently, how can I get better. And also another quality that you may at one time develop is, you know, just to have hope, you know. And I kid you not, I was the most skeptical, the most negative person that was practicing or chanting, because like when I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I would go to the center regularly, and I would just ask like questions like, why is this happening? Like, you know, I wanted this, but then this is what's happening. And then looking back now, I really did have like a superficial view of the practice. This practice is total transformation of your life. So if you are not ready for total transformation of your life, maybe this teaching is not for you. But if you like, yeah, you know, I want total transformation. As for me, I did want it in my heart, total transformation. I was just not, you know, like not really prepared, but I wasn't told how my life would just change. Like, you know, there was no like, yeah, your life's never going to be the same again. You know, there wasn't that talk. And I think there should be that talk, because a lot of people like me got overwhelmed with all of the changes, and it was like, no, like change. But it is change for the better. It is gradual change. It is a practice that if you are consistent and good at your practice, and if you have a seeking mind and you ask for help at the right moments, and you just stay curious and you study about it and you learn about it, you share your experiences, it may be the practice for you, you know. And sometimes just being stubborn, I think, helps. Just like, yeah, I just want to try it out, and then I'm curious, and I just don't give up easily. I think that's a good what do you call that? That is a good quality to have, because they have this saying, like, you know, it takes 12 days to travel from, I think, was it Kyoto to the capital, or it was a place in Japan. But if you stop on the 11th day, like, how can you appreciate the moon over the capital or something? And those 11 days, unfortunately, have extended to 15 years. But it is a process. And it's just been, I can't explain it. It's just, you're happy. Even if, like, externally, like, it doesn't look like you should be happy, but you are. So it's kind of weird. But at the same time, externally it might be in shambles, but when you just continue chanting, it will just form circumstances that are even better than before. So that will be that. So that is what transformation is about, essentially. That it will just, things will just like blow up, and then it will form into something that you never expected, that was even better than before. And I hope this has helped, and I will be posting more. And the reason why I post this is because, like, as someone that chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I definitely would have wanted someone to give me the talk, you know, but I had to just seek out the answers on my own. And then, I mean, that's a good thing as well. But, you know, I just want your journey to be more better than mine, because mine was like, you know, it was just very overwhelming initially, but doing better now. And I think that's just how I learned. And thank you very much for watching, and I will be posting more videos soon.